Can you beat Elden Ring cosplaying as Radahn? Today we'll answer that question. Join me on my journey beating Elden Ring as Radahn. To start, we have to look the part. Here's how I imagine Radahn would look like. It kinda looks like you drew Hanma from Baki. My first goal is to defeat Radahn, to acquire his armor and weapons. Since I don't have his armor or weapons, I'll attempt to take Radahn down using the easiest method I know. I choose the Prophet as the origin because we'll be utilizing incantations and spell specifically crafted to defeat Radahn easily. Additionally, I'll be seeking assistance from NPCs or summons who are relevant to Radahn throughout the game. While I'll be using NPCs and summons in this playthrough, they will strictly be those associated with Radahn. Our first weapon is the finger seal. Lucky for us, it's free to get since we are using the Prophet as the starting class. Now we need an incantation to go with it. I plan to get the Rotten Breath and the Dragon Eyes incantation. To get the incantation, we need to slay a dragon for its dragon heart. So we went to Fort Ferret in Caelid. There, I took the other half of the Dectus Medallion and Radahn Sword Seal. I then wielded the Uji Katana that we retrieved from the Death Touch Catacombs and equipped the Radahn Sword Seal to give extra stats. Then we started slicing at Greyol, the big dragon outside of Fort Ferret. We used the Uji Katana for its bleed damage so we can slay the dragon faster. I made sure to use the golden Foulfoot to increase the runes that I get from slaying Greyol. With this heart, we can now unlock the Rotten Breath and Dragon Eyes in any Draconic Communion Church. The second and last weapon we need is the Meteor Staff, which can be found near the Streets of Sage Ruins in Caelid. And I also took the spell Rock Sling. And now, we're fully prepared for the battle. We need to start Radahn's festival first by activating the Grand Lift and hoist the Dectus Medallion to activate it. We already got the first half of the medallion we grabbed in Fort Ferret. The other half of the medallion is at Fort Hyde in this chest. We then hoist the medallion to trigger Radahn's festival and travel using the portal near Radahn's castle. So here's my setup. I'll wield Rotten Breath and Dragon Eyes with the finger seal on my left arm, and I'll wield the Rock Sling spell with the Meteor Staff on my right. As for armor, I didn't bother after all. I don't plan on taking any hits on this fight. We then spoke with Jiren to let him know that we're ready to take on his big boss, and the battle begins. The strategy starts as soon as we enter Radahn's domain. Riding turret, I swiftly retreat back to avoid Radahn's relentless bow attacks, and then went back to him once at a safe distance. I circle back towards Radahn, summoning crucial NPCs along the way. It's crucial to keep my distance, letting the NPCs draw Radahn's attention before I unleash the full force of Rotten Breath and Dragon Eyes to afflict him with both Rot and Frost. Once the status effects takes hold, I switch to the Meteor Staff and rain down a barrage of Rock Sling spells while maintaining a safe distance. The key is to stay out of Radahn's reach at all costs My greatest concern is his dreaded second phase, where he becomes a meteor falling down from the sky. Vigilant, I watch the heavens and swiftly dodge the incoming threat. With this strategy, I managed to defeat Radahn on my first attempt. And with that, you may now rest, O great General Radahn. I will take your mantle and bring down all those who will stand before us from becoming Elden Lord. Also, on this fight, none of the weapons I used were upgraded, and the stats I allocated when I defeated Greyol are strictly enough to wield the spells and incantations we used. We really proved that prep work matters. And now we have defeated Radahn, we're ready. We have a few names on our list, starting with Margit, the Fell Omen, who we must defeat before confronting Godrek, the first shard holder. We've acquired Radahn's sword, but our current build isn't optimized enough, therefore we'll need to wait until we defeat Rennala to respec our stats and align them with Radahn's build. So here's my tactic. For the fight, I know Margit is fast and deadly, especially since I won't be wearing any armor due to lacking enough endurance for Radahn's sword with the armor. To bolster my chance, I've summoned the Radahn soldier Ash I've acquired from Warded Catacombs. As a follower of Radahn's tactics, I'm focusing on strategies that can tilt the fight in my favor, such as utilizing summons directly associated with Radahn. Additionally, I've chosen to wield the Meteor Staff because its projectile resembles one of Radahn's skill, keeping within our established rules. My approach will be to maintain a safe distance from Margit to evade most of his attack. During the fight, I initially underuse the Ash of War of Radahn's sword, mistaking it for a simply Roar without realizing its powerful follow-up smash upon pressing L2 again. Nevertheless, our effort bore fruit in our second attempt, and we defeated Margit, the Fell Omen. Thanos balls! 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 Oop. Go get them, soldier! Don't yield! Thanos balls! Yeah! That's what you get! Roar! Our second target is Godrek. I stuck with the same setup we used against Margit, summoning Radahn's soldier and using the rock sling for range attacks, while dual wielding Radahn's sword for jump attacks. It took me 3 times to adopt Godrek's attacks. In hindsight, using Radahn's sword with the Ash of War could have made it easier. Nevertheless, after 3 attempts, we successfully took down our first Remembrance boss, Godrek the Grafted. Come on, just a couple of hits. Thanos balls! Get away from the bad breath. Thanos balls! Easy. No, you're not. You're a disgrace to Godfrey. Now it's really crucial to adjust my stats, so our next target is Renala, who can respec them. This will allow us to wield the sword properly and wear our armor. But first we have to defeat the Red Dog of Radahn. For this battle, I continued using Radahn's Soldier Summon and employed the Rock Sling for range attacks, along with some jump attacks using Radahn's Sword. The soldier really stepped up their game in this fight, effectively drawing the dog's attention and creating openings for me to unleash my skills and execute jump attacks. It was a close contested battle, but we managed to defeat the dog on our first try. With the same build, I faced the Carian Knight. I didn't I did not anticipate it to be such a challenge. So far, he's been the toughest opponent yet. It took me 4 attempts to finally defeat this formidable bastard. I should have cheesed him using the elevator, but well, a win is a win, and I'll take it. The Carian Knight was just a warning. Renala has proven to be my greatest challenge yet. Stuck with the same build, defeating her was crucial, so we could reallocate the wasted stats for Radahn's build. I faced 6 deaths, hindered by no armor and inefficient spells against her magic resistance. It took me too long as well to realize Radahn's Ash of War. Frustrated, I pursued Vari's questline for a sure victory. First, I spoke to Vari and chose the first dialogue option. Next, I opted to defeat the NPC Magnus the Beastclaw. Still using the same build, after 2 attempts I defeated Magnus. Returning to Vari, I followed his instruction to the Church of Inhibition, where I interacted with a dead maiden. Collecting her blood on a napkin Vari had given me, returning to Vari, I swore allegiance to the blood god Moog, receiving the Pure Blood Knight's medal, which transported me to Mogwin to farm runes. Yes, I have to farm runes for this. Renala. With a newfound bow, I began shooting down the bird over and over and over again, each time giving us a 10k rune. I continued farming until my stats were sufficient to wield Radahn's sword and don some of Radahn's armor. Armed with our new outfit and boosted stats, were ready to confront Renala once more. Despite not utilizing the Ash of War of Radahn's sword, still unaware of the Ash of War's capability, we managed to defeat Renala on our first attempt, after the 6 attempts that we failed to do so. Damn, that was difficult. Feeling confident, I attempted to enter the Lendo capital by facing the Draconic Tree Sentinel. I was humbled 6 times, realizing that my sword was only 6 plus 6 and my Radahn soldier summons weren't upgraded. After these defeats, I sought a better strategy. I returned to the warded catacombs and aimed to get the summon Olga, a stronger Radahn soldier. Despite discovering Radahn's true Ash of War during a failed attempt against the putrid tree spirit, I couldn't prevail and was killed twice. Opting To upgrade the Radahn soldier instead, I ventured to the Windham Catacombs where I defeated the Erdtree Burial's watchdog for the Grave Gloveworth ball-bearing one needed for summon upgrades. Armed with the upgraded summon and knowledge of the Ash of War, I challenged the Draconic Tree Sentinel again. It turned out to be easier than expected, revealing how much damage I had been missing without utilizing the Ash of War. I emerged victorious. You fought well, my friend. Goodbye, my boy. Given access to Lendel Capital, I wasted no time confronting Golden Godfrey. Utilizing our Radahn soldier and fully aware of the Ash of War's capability, I strategically used it throughout the entire fight. The second part of the Ash of War provided crucial stagger resistance, ensuring our combos landed consistently. Thanks to this approach, we defeated Golden Godfrey on our first attempt. Getting ready for Margot, I knew I had to be on point. First up was Godfroy the Grafted, so we could get the Godfrey Icon Talisman we needed. Getting my sword up to plus 10, I need the Somber's Meeting Stone 7. That means we have to take down God's King Noble, which took me 2 tries. I used the same strategy I used on Golden Godfrey. Getting the rest of the upgrades to plus 10 was a smooth sailing. There's no bosses that you have to fight for it. For the Margot Showdown, I geared up with Radahn's set and sword, plus Radagon's Sword Seal, Erdtree Favor Talisman plus 0, Godfrey Icon, and the Great Jar Talisman. The Radahn Soldier Ashes has been the real MVPs throughout it all. When it came to facing Margot, I leaned hard on my plus 10 weapon, amped up with the Ash of War, and I nailed it in one go. Easy. Our next big target is the Fire Giant, and like Batman, prep time is key to ensure that the fight goes smooth. First, I tackled the Clean Rock Knight boss at Stillwater Cave to nab the Winged Sword Insignia Talisman in just one go. Next, I decided it was time to retire the Radahn Soldier. I defeated the Putrid Tree Spirit to acquire the Summon Olga. Then, I pursued Millicent's quest, defeating Commander Neil in the heart of Ionia and a Godskin Apostle in Windmill Village in Lindell. Ending Millicent's quest gave us access to the Millicent's Prosthesis Talisman, completing our current build. Before facing the Fire Giant, I sought Alexander's help by defeating the Magma Worm at Seed Water Terminus. This also earned us Alexander's Talisman, or eventually will earn us Alexander's Talisman for our final build. Lastly, I activated Radahn's Great Rune at the Divine Tower in Caelid to boost our vigor, stamina, and mind. Prepared and ready, I approached the Fire Giant, knowing I couldn't rely on turret. Instead, I summoned Alexander for the fight and keep my distance. Olga, now at plus 10 with range attacks, joined us. Using my Ash of War for damage, I targeted the Fire Giant's left foot in the first phase, combining it with jump attacks. In the second phase, I stayed behind the Fire Giant, focusing on its feet while navigating its evasive maneuvers, rolling around. I have to always be on top of him. Despite the challenges, we emerge victorious, and mind you, one attempt. After the fight, I found myself wondering where Olga went. I brushed it off for now, but later on in the game, it became clear that Olga isn't one of the brightest summons out there. We could do better. Next up are the notorious Godskin duo, possibly the most frustrating boss in the game. I dread even saying their names. Nevertheless, I geared up for the challenge, placing Olga strategically at the center of the arena to get most of their attention. I maintained a safe distance and peppered them with my Ash of War attacks. I focused my assault on Fatty, finding his rolling attacks particularly vexing. Climbing broken pillars helped me evade his assaults and deliver precise blows with my Ash of War. Olga proved invaluable in drawing Skinny's attention, and together we managed to defeat them on our first attempt. Time for tears as our time with the great Jar Alexander comes to a close. We have to give him a warrior's death and carry his will by using the great Jar talisman until the end of the game. With Alexander's Shard, our build is complete. Now we must face death itself, Malekith. But before that, we have to slay another annoying enemy, a much stronger version of what we fought back in Lendel, the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Lucky for us, we are now strong enough to take some of its hits and deal enough damage to defeat him with relative ease. We just spammed a couple of Ash Wars. Now, we have to take care of another wall, which is Malekith. Was dealing great damage against him on his first phase. However, his second phase is a bit challenging, as his moves are really fast and for some reason always goes after me right after he transformed for his second phase. This is the deciding fight to finally retire the soldier Olga. He fought well, but he outlasted his usefulness. Olga is not really good at aggroing Malekith on his second phase, and for the upcoming fights, we need a summon that can provide a brief relief by taking the boss's attention away from us. After dying 3 times, I finally cave in and take the best summon of the game, depending on your build. And since at the start of the game we said that we'll strictly use a summon related to Radahn, so why not use another Radahn to help us on the fight? With the newly acquired and upgraded to plus 10 Mimic tier, we managed to take down the Holder of Death itself, and the best boy in the lands between, Malekith. It took us 4 attempts, but still got it in the bag. Now that Death is gone, we went back to Lendel Capital in ruins and faced the all-knowing Gideon. Honestly, using Mimic tier for this fight was overkill. We managed to take him down on 1 attempt. Most builds do take him down in 1 attempt. Some of them don't, but we're lucky, I guess. Honestly, this fight is nerve-wracking. I've fought Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, on different playthroughs, and I know he is one of the strongest boss out there, and will make you check your vigor on every attack. He is a perfect counter to our build, as our main damage comes from our Ash of War that takes a lot of time to pull off, but we still managed to take it to second phase. And the fear adds up as he becomes much faster, but I'm truly thankful for our Mimic for taking most of Harulu's attention away from us on the second phase, and with his help, we managed to take the first Elden Lord down on our first attempt. Now we are at the end game. Time to fight Marika's other persona, the Edgelord Radahn. I fought Malekith, Gideon, and now Radahn on one recording. The last two took me one attempt to defeat them with the same build I'm running. Using only Radahn's sword, donning Radahn's armor, I compensated with leveling up key stats like strength, dexterity, some intelligence, brought my vigor to 40, some mind, and endurance. The talismans I use are Wing Sword Insignia, Great Charge Talisman, and I know I'm not proud of it, Millicent's Prosthesis, and Alexander's Shard. For Flask, I use Dex tier and Ent tier. With this final build, I faced against Radahn. Never thought running Radahn's build would take me this far, but we're here. Radahn is fast, but I know I only had to hit him with a fully charged Ash of War, and I will take a ton of his health away. Mimic was really the MVP on this fight as he took a lot of damage for us and managed to get to second phase. And now, behold, the Elden Beast. But also, bear witness to a Tarnish who embodies Radahn's will. With this sword and his cowl, I will vanquish anyone that stands before me. Oh, great general, Star Scourge Radahn, lend me thy strength to vanquish this false god, and help me become the true Elden Lord. I got carried away with my monologue there, but there you go. You can beat Elden Ring using Radahn's build. Just plainly his sword, and with his armor can take hits and deal a lot of damage. Just max out the stats, or at least soft cap the stats for his sword, mainly strength, dexterity, and intelligence. But I know what you're thinking. Can we beat Malenia, the strongest boss in the game, in the base game, and take revenge for Radahn's demise? Then keep watching. We've achieved our answer for this video. We have beaten Elden Ring as Radahn. But I want more, so I decided to fight all other Remembrance bosses, still running Radahn's build. First on my list is one of the easiest Remembrance boss, the Regal Spirit Ancestor. I let Mimic Tier use Radahn's bow for this fight, and I wielded Radahn's sword, with Mimic shooting him down and us spamming Radahn's Ash of War. We took it down on one try. Now on to the next, Leech Dragon 40 Sacks. But before we fight him, we have to defeat Thea's Simp first. I was expecting more from them, but I took them down so easily, it's embarrassing. After taking care of those Simps, I now fought the Leech Dragon 40 Sacks. Both Mimic and I wielded Radahn's sword this time and jumped him with it, with both spamming Radahn's Ash of War and also making sure that we avoid his lightning attacks and breath attacks so we don't get afflicted by Death Blight. After a few Ash of War, a few jump attacks on his feet, we managed to take him down on our first attempt. Our next opponent is Rykard. I've defeated Rykard before, but I always use the Serpent Spear, the weapon you're intended to use against him. Not using this weapon would be a new experience for me. I know it would be hard to go near him, so I equipped talismans and flask that could decrease fire damage. With this preparation in mind, I managed to stand near him at all times in this fight and managed to attack him with my Ash of War and jump attacks. I was surprised on how effective my strat was, and we managed to take it to the second phase. We kinda cheesing him by staying under him at all times. We are always away from his attacks, and Mimic is hard at work keeping Rykard's attention away from me, and with that we managed to take Rykard down with our first attempt. Mohg the Lord of Blood and the puppet of Miquella, if you know you know, is our next target. Before we fight him, I defeated Eleonora to get the flask that would protect us from Mohg's second phase attack. For this fight, both Mimic and I wielded Radahn's sword. I let Mimic attract Mohg's attention before I go in and attack him with my Ash of War, which does a lot of damage. With only 3 Ash of War attacks, we managed to trigger his second phase. And right when he starts chanting for his attack, I drank my flask to negate his damage. For the second phase, he gains a pair of wings to increase his mobility, so I waited for Mimic to get Mohg's attention before launching my attack. And with this strategy, I managed to defeat Mohg in one attempt. Our next target is Estelle. For this fight, I let Mimic Tyr use Radahn's bow, while I'll wield Radahn's swords. It took me some time to go near him because of his annoying attacks, but once I got near, I let him taste of his own medicine by using gravity magic against him. The strat was basic. We get near him, shout, then smash. And with that, we took down Estelle on our first try. The second to the last Remembrance boss, and technically the first Elden Lord, Placidusax. For this fight, both Mimic and I use the swords. My goal is to get at Placidusax's back and attack him there, to avoid most of his laser attacks and lightning strikes. We deal significant damage against him, but he is still tanky. On his second phase, he vanish and will do a diving attack. I try to avoid it, but I'm not good at timing, and I ate most of its attacks. After those attacks, I went back to my strategy on attacking him from the back. I know, it's not a good one, but it is what it is. And with this, we managed to defeat the Dragon Lord Placidusax on our first attempt. Our final opponent to conclude this journey is Malenia. Can we defeat her as Radahn? We'll see. Before we can even fight her, we have to get to her, and I have to fight 2 bosses to get there. First, Commander Neil. Both Mimic and I used swords for this fight. After we took care of both Commander Neil's soldier, we both focus on Neil, and I let Mimic take Neil down on our first try. Next is Loretta. Both Mimic and I use Radahn's sword. I focus on attacking Loretta with my Ash of War, while I let Mimic do his own thing. I took care of Loretta down in one try. Finally, Melania, Blade of Mikula. Today, she will know defeat, or so I thought. At first, I let Mimic use the bow and I wield the swords. Her first phase is easy. My attack staggers her and kept her from attacking us. My strategy is so effective that we managed to get to second phase with still Mimic around. But her attacks that sends waves of Melania clones at me got me. On my second try, both Mimic and I wielded the swords. We easily got her to second phase, but I was hit by her waterfowl attack. Third time's a charm. Mimic and I still wielded the swords and spammed the Ash of War on Melania's face. With the brainless strat, we managed to get to second phase. This time, I'm careful. I only attack Melania when she is busy with Mimic. Melania managed to hit me with her Rot Blossom attack, but I managed to survive, and lucky not to get afflicted with Rot. And with that attack, Mimic is down. I took my time and waited until the flower disappears, and then rush at her. And I spammed my Ash of War like there's no tomorrow. And with that, we managed to become a true Elden Lord. We took down all of the Remembrance bosses, and we took down Melania on our third attempt, only using Radahn's build. And now do we continue to the DLC? Stay tuned, I'll still have to save money to buy it. Anyways, if you enjoy this video and want to see more of videos like this, then please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Leave a like and leave a comment of what you think about the video. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. This is Kenkoy, your Elden Lord for today, and I'll see you on the next one. Mabuhay!